Welcome to the CoinOp Cowboys, the podcast where four guys explore the absurdities of everyday life, sharing our entertaining experiences and insights on a variety of topics. Hello, CoinOp-ians. This week, Chris discusses his hunting trip to the state of Virginia. We discuss all kinds of interesting tidbits, from punt guns to fishing for muskies. But first, Angel discusses narcissism through the eyes of a father, reflecting on personal experience. Drop us a line if you want your comments and mail heard on air. Our email address is coinopcowboyspod@gmail.com. That is coinopcowboyspod@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, follow, and rate us. Be sure to spread the word about this episode to your friends. You don't want to miss this one. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Radio, Apple, and Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your favorite entertainment. We release a new episode every week. Take a listen to past episodes and get all caught up because you deserve it. Now, I just switched cameras to the main stage. FYI, we had to record on a Sunday night, which is not our typical day. Chris and Ryan have just returned from their trips, and Steven takes off tomorrow. So we found a time to connect and record for all you fine CoinOp-ians. Man, to be you right now. You're listening to me. How exciting. How exciting, to be listening to me right now. Let my voice fill your heart and soul with excitement and passion. Everyone around you feels it. Anyway, let's hop back into the conversation. Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening.
What's up? It's your boy, Steezy.
You sound sick, Steezy.
I'm not sick. Why am I sick? Chris is the one that sounds like shit.
What?
Chris sounds fine.
That's just a new accent, yo.
Stuffy nose.
Yeah, thanks, guys, for hopping on a weird time Sunday. I think, Steven, you're getting ready to go on a trip, right?
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow to Italy.
Ooh.
Tomorrow?
Ooh.
How long are you going to be gone?
Essentially 2 weeks.
That's pretty dope. Going to go see the Colosseum and eat pasta from Ancient Grain and all that fun stuff.
I am going to see the Colosseum. We're starting off our trip in Venice. And I'm going to walk around in the water.
Nice.
Gonna get on a gondola ride.
I got 2 words of advice. The first one is, every guy on the street corner sells little handmade pizzas. Don't eat them. They're all the same. They don't taste that good. Go to the specialized people. 2, when you buy cheese, they're going to offer it. They're going to hold it out to you. You're supposed to smell it and be like, yeah, that smells good. When they hold it out to you, don't take it out of their hand and then smell it and put it back in their hand. That really bothers them.
Wait, you don't take the cheese out of people's hands?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why would you take the cheese out of someone's
Well,
hands?
because so it was a glass case. And I was like, okay, I'll take that Parmesan or whatever in there. And so he would grab it and he would hang it over, but his arms were kind of short. So I didn't want to horribly lean over the glass to smell it. So I just reached out, grabbed it because I got nice long arms. And I wanted it right up under my nose so I could get a good smell. And I was like, okay, yeah, I was expecting it to smell like good cheese. Why would I be buying not good smelling cheese? And then I hand it back to him, and he did not like that. He was that close to just kicking me out of his little deli.
Wow. That's apparently you offended him.
Yeah. And I saw the other people do it, and they just go I don't know, 3 feet away from the cheese, and like, oh yeah, that smells good. I'm like, that's a lie. You don't know what that cheese smells like.
Well, maybe they have really strong noses. Who knows? But I think you, Ryan, just came back from a trip, and you, Chris, as well, right?
I just came back from the great state of Virginia.
Cool.
For a week.
Out there hunting?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. It was hunting and fishing, and I have uncles and cousins who live out there, so I stayed with them and got to see the place.
Nice. Catch anything interesting?
I did. Lots and lots of fun stuff, and I got a few good stories when my spiel comes up.
10-4. Fuck. God damn it.
You don't get a few stories, Chris. You get one.
You don't know.
We're on a time crunch.
Don't want to be up to 2 a.m., please.
That's true. We have work in the morning, so
I can't help that my stories are just that much more interesting.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and kick it off with a question for each of you. And you all
Wait, you asked Chris about his trip, but you don't give a shit about my trip?
I asked you about yours, and you stayed quiet. It was
you
like
didn't
a
say
beat
shit
and a half.
about mine.
Ryan.
We have it on tape.
Ryan, would you do me the honor
Yes.
of telling us about your trip?
Oh yes, I went to Europe and Ireland.
Ah, we.
Mm.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Can I hear your best Irish accent? Solid.
Yikes. That's pretty good. That was pretty good.
I'm gonna give that 3 Guinnesses.
Ooh.
3 out of 5. Nice.
I have a piece of trivia for the Cowboys.
Oh,
Let's
okay.
hear it.
You're all familiar with the film Star Wars, is this correct?
No,
Yes.
absolutely not.
The original 6.
6.
This is dealing with the original Star Wars. Are you familiar, Steven?
I gotta Google this then.
Yes, I am familiar with the original Star Wars.
So, in the original Star Wars, they go to the bar
Yes.
on Tatooine.
Cantina.
Yeah.
What genre of music is that, Steven?
I know the answer to this. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not a genre. Trick question. It's not a genre of music. It's music that was made for a movie.
False.
And it's not a genre.
False.
Okay.
Chris.
That was a good guess. That was a good guess. I was
really afraid that Steven had the answer. I got really worried that
I'm gonna go with folk music because it was the music of the Tattoon people.
Nope. Angel, what genre?
I'm gonna call it space jazz.
Space jazz. You say?
Space jazz because
like
it's outer
space
space
jazz.
And it's pretty jazzy.
It's pretty close. The normal person would say it's jazz music. But George Lucas coined it as, Angel?
Tatooine jazz.
Jizz.
Shut up. No, he didn't.
Yep. I
You're
swear to
making
God.
shit up right now.
I did not make it up.
No.
Yep. Look it up.
Wait, so instead of jazz, he calls it jizz?
Yep.
Oh no, he's right.
And you learned this in Ireland.
You learned this in Ireland?
Dude, they're just so much smarter over there.
Where I learned it is inconsequential.
Jizz was first mentioned in canon in Star Wars Return of the Jedi junior novelization author by Ryder Wyndham. Oh, wow. That's another reason. That's reason number 30 for me. It's called Jizz.
You're welcome for that piece of glorious knowledge.
We listen to Jizz. Everyone in Disneyland listens to Jizz. All right.
So, Ryan, would you say that you like jizz in your ears?
Never been a big fan of that song.
Okay. Let's go ahead and launch into some questions for you guys. We're going to go in order, okay? And we're going to go rapid fire. It has to be quick. I need your answers really fast, okay? No time to think. I just want reaction. We're going to go in order as you appear.
What's this order? You act like we know what the order is.
Yeah, it's part of the bit.
Angel sees an order.
I see the order. It's the only perspective that matters right now. Okay. The question is, if you were a mad scientist, what would be your most outrageous creation? Again, if you were a mad scientist, what would be your most outrageous creation? The first person to my right is Steven.
My most outrageous invention would be a potion collection, and each potion that would make somebody do certain things. So like a truth potion or like a horny potion. Or, yeah.
You'd be a wizard or an alchemist?
I'd be an alchemist, yeah. And I'd have all these things, and I would use them on everybody all the time.
Okay.
Yep.
Disappointed.
What the fuck? What do you want me to do? Like, I have I got this thing. It's like a saddle you sit on, but like the whole time you're riding on the saddle. No, I'm changing it to the dildo. I'm changing it to the dildo saddle. The dildo saddle.
Cut this, Angel.
Yeah, it's been cut. It's already cut.
The dildo saddle.
Nope. Okay, Potion Boy.
Okay, fine.
Next up is Ryan.
Easy. Nasal spray that turns your boogers into sour gummies.
What?
It's diabolical. Could you eat them?
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's so you can clean your nose. It's like recycling.
Would they get stuck in there, or would they fall out and become gummy bears?
No, you would just spritz it up, and it would solidify them a bit, and then you pick them and you'd eat them. They taste like sour gummy bears.
What flavor?
Could you spray it?
Spray it where?
Oh, well, I don't know. Angel was asking what flavor.
Sour.
So I was gonna say, so could I take the nasal spray and spray it in your nose and then eat your nasal gummy bears?
Why would you eat my nasal gummy
Why
bears?
would I
eat
not?
them. I mean, I guess you could.
I mean, maybe your sour
It'd be
is
kinda
more sour
gross.
than mine is.
It'd be kind of gross if you wanted to eat
I'm-
mine.
I think
yeah,
I would-
I guess you could.
That'd be more of a sweet gummy bear, but I could see you being like an extra sour, slightly alcoholic gummy bear.
Yeah.
What would happen if you squeeze it in your ass?
It only reacts to boogers. You'd have a moist butthole.
You just have really wet asshole.
What about
okay.
what about eye boogers? Do those count?
Oh, good question.
No, there's a different kind of boogers. They're
Nose
not really
boogers.
boogers. Those are crusties.
Crusties. Okay.
Great. No, thank you, Ryan. All right, next up, Chris.
I would create a letdown machine.
Like titty milk letdown?
Close. It would be a machine that would just disappoint you at the last possible opportunity. So let's say you buy a lottery ticket and there's like 5 numbers. You would get the first 4 numbers correctly, and then the last number you'd be off by 1. So you would get all psyched up, like, oh, it was a 6 instead of a 7. Or maybe like your sports team would like choke in the final moments of the game and you would lose, or maybe your fantasy football team loses. Like you see the last parking spot, and as you're racing towards it, someone else would just swoop in real quick, you know. Or maybe Starbucks calls your name, like, hey, we got a caramel frappuccino for Chris, and I'm like, oh, that's me, and they're like, oh, Chris Alexander, and some other random guy named Chris would be like, oh yeah, that's mine. I ordered the same thing before you. So something to get you excited just before letting you down.
That's diabolical, Chris. That's pretty aggressive. Thank you. That's terrifying.
It's what the world is scared to have, and it doesn't really want. But that's what a mad scientist does. You know, it's got to shake things up a bit.
Right. No, thank you. All right, I'm going to round it up. If I was a mad scientist, okay, and I'm a genius scientist because I am a genius, my creation would be absolutely tremendous. You know, I'd make it a time-traveling toaster. It'd be huge, you know. I'm talking about a toaster that sends your toast through time, and you put it, your regular piece of bread, and then maybe it comes back as ancient Roman flatbread or some futuristic slice with flavors nobody's ever tasted before. No, dude, it would be spectacular, man. It would have settings like you could choose your era. If you want a piece of toast from like the Renaissance, you got it. Or maybe something from the future, it's yours. It's like a surprise me button, you know? Was that?
Was that fart from the future?
Yeah.
So
it smells old.
Nice. So you're saying if I did like a future setting, it would come back as like dehydrated bread or some kind of slime.
Yeah, exactly. It would be whatever it is in whatever era you chose. Just toast from there.
Now, what if I sent it back to the Dark Ages and no bread came back?
Oh, you'd get bread.
Just not everyone. Well, I guess my point is that's when everyone was really hungry. There was not enough bread to go around, so it's like, oh,
but there was bread.
True, it'd be some.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of like questionable bread.
It'd be the bread that was left for someone to eat and it's just gone.
Solid.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Thank you guys for your submissions. Your
Fucking stole that from The Simpsons, Angel.
Who did?
You did.
I didn't.
Yes.
No. We talked
Yes,
about?
that was from the 2017 episode of The Simpsons.
Oh my god.
I knew it sounded familiar.
I stopped watching The Simpsons back in 2016.
Okay.
But it's funny you mention it because I've been like watching The Simpsons all weekend. They just have it on repeat on Disney Plus.
What do you mean they have it on repeat on Disney Plus? It's on-demand content, Angel.
Yeah, it just keeps playing. Press play and it says we'll play the next episode in 15 seconds, and then it plays the next episode. All right. I pulled out the wheel, and we're going to start the wheel and see who's next. Or
Spin
first.
Your fucking wheel, Angel.
All
Spin your
right.
fucking wheel.
Ding 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 ding.
Oh,
Fuck.
Oh.
all right.
didn't
So
have time
today, Angel wants
Words.
to talk about pillow cushions.
Words. What do they mean?
Oh, fuck.
Well, see, the problem is Angel was expecting more time to think of his topic.
Yes, I was.
100%.
Every week I keep forgetting that I have something to talk about. No.
So is your topic
Actually-
sucking dick?
Yeah, it's about sucking dick. You guys ever suck dick?
No.
What? You should try it.
Like today?
I
mean,
tried to suck my own dick.
Tell us about it for the next 15 minutes.
Oh, well, let me tell you. First of all, you need to start with stretching. Lots of stretching. Got to get those ribs nice and loose. Got to open up that thorax, you know.
Is there like a
abdomen.
certain stretch that is most preferable?
So what I found is like you do that like butterfly stretch, the one where you put your feet together and you wing your legs out, and then you like stretch your legs down, open up your groin. But as you're doing that, you lean forward, really get your lower back stretching out, and because that's going to be the key to getting down to that D. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying not to picture it because I see your eyes just getting brighter.
But it takes a lot of stretching. So once you're all nice and loose and stretched, then you still got to get a boner because you're not reaching the dick unless you get a boner.
There's a list of steps here.
Imagine you're like, all right, I got to it, but now I got to get hard.
I'm not up.
I didn't think this
I was
through.
right there.
Don't.
If only I had a boner, I'd be licking my dick right now.
Weird.
Weird how that happens.
Face to face with my own dick, and I'm not hard.
Yeah.
All right, Angel.
What?
Go on.
All right. We're going to talk today about narcissism. You guys familiar with what narcissism?
Not perfect.
Why?
Yeah, you're the most narcissistic person I know.
Me?
Yeah,
No.
you.
How dare you?
Oh, 100%. Oh, and in this virtual room? Yes, 100%.
How so? How so? I don't think so. I think you are.
No, well, you're full
No,
of
you're the
shit.
most narcissistic person I know.
Okay.
Outside of my own father, you are. No, that's what I want to discuss because I've been thinking about it the last 2 weeks since we last recorded. And we had a really good discussion last week during last episode about...
I think you can just briefly sum it up as like a person that is self-absorbed and self-obsessed, that the world centers around them, and they probably don't know that they act that way.
That's it. Exactly. It's someone who's like...
Way to go, Steven.
Yep, saved it. It's a grandiose sense of self-importance, preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, feeling like you're better than another person, entitled, lack of empathy, demonstration of arrogant and haughty behaviors or attitudes. Yeah, I think that's Ryan.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
So this is an intervention for Ryan. You know, we're all gathered here, Ryan. We're all friends. You know, we want what's best for you.
Yeah,
I can't help if my penis is bigger, harder, and better shaped than yours. I'm sorry that God gave me the perfect penis.
Case in point.
Prove it.
Is it because it has less miles on it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can't overuse it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only for special
Saving if
occasions.
it for marriage.
So is this like a glorious opportunity for the fans to like email in who they think is the most narcissistic cowboy?
Oof, if only they knew where the email address was.
It's in the details.
What
It's in the
details?
Gotta
description.
check the details.
Check the description.
What
There's a description. There's a description right there. I'm looking at it. Yeah, last time we were talking about life and, started thinking about being a father and my own father. And my own father, I was reflecting on how he raised us, me and my brothers, and because I only have two other brothers. And the more I think about it and I discuss with my wife, the more I realize that he is a narcissist. And I started thinking, like, why was he a narcissist? You know, like, what makes a narcissist? Like, is it something that you're born with, or is it something that's made? You know what I mean?
Made.
You think so?
Yeah.
I agree with Christopher.
How so?
I think it's made by how parents treat their children without teaching them about others matter and only focusing on one's own needs.
Yeah.
Now that I say that, I'm starting to think about it. Your own child, did you have to teach them the word mine?
What do you mean?
Like, your kid has a toy, and if another kid or you goes to grab that toy, they're like, "Well, mine," and they're like, "This one's mine." And now the funny thing is, they did not buy it. They were probably given to it, or maybe they even just found it, but they consider it theirs. And I did not need to teach my children that, but they know that. And that makes me think, were they born with the idea that they were so special that toy should belong to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, kids are inherently like selfish creatures.
Yes.
Yeah, the world revolves around them.
That part of their brain probably hasn't developed yet that like lets them empathize and understand that there's other people.
But I think I might be blurring two things, because I think the whole mine and some of those things you don't have to teach your children, that has some similarities. But when I think of a narcissistic person, I think about it on a much deeper sense. Not deeper, but like they have high self-importance and they believe they should naturally get special favors for things. So I don't get the impression that is what children have.
No, kids, I don't think are capable of being called. I don't think you can call a kid a narcissist because they really haven't defined themselves as that yet. Because all kids are selfish and do super self-centered things because they haven't developed yet. So
Yeah.
it's more like of a term that you would use towards adults who never grew out of that, I think.
Like, it in order to be like, do you need to be aware that you're a narcissist in order to be a
No,
narcissist?
most narcissists aren't aware.
Okay.
I mean, you could be like a greedy person and just like know you're being greedy, but you don't give a fuck, you know. But a narcissist is somebody that does everything they do is just totally unaware of how it's affecting other people.
You know, it's funny. I had a coworker, and as a joke, he would say this phrase, and it makes me laugh every time. He goes, "Hey, I'm one of the most humble people you'll ever meet," and that made me laugh because it was, you know, the irony in there. And I kind of see a little bit of that on a narcissistic side.
I mean, I know it for sure. I'm surrounded by narcissists. I feel like Chris probably would be surrounded and deal with a lot of narcissistic people. I think you see a lot of that type of behavior in like the upper management of workplaces.
Yeah.
People taking credit for a team effort and acting like, wow, you know, my company is the best, you know, I run it so well and it's because of me, you know, like that kind of behavior. And you see that a lot in upper management, that they really were just a face on something and everybody else did all the work and they just taking all the credit.
Yeah. I see that from, like, if you look at it as your own company aspect, I think just the higher companies go higher to the top, I think they get more and more that way. And I think my thought on it is maybe they got there. Maybe they got to that director or vice president or CEO, maybe whatever. Maybe they got to that because they went to their boss and said, look what I did. You know, which may have been, look what my department did, but look what I did. I managed this department. I created this. So that is why I made it this much. And they're like, oh, we should promote you. And then they just kind of keep working their way up until their own personal legend is like, you know, so far past where reality is.
It's one of those terms I feel like that gets brought up all the time, you know, like people, this term and the term gaslighting, I feel like are terms that are just always thrown around. And narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, all that stuff is really broad and hard to define. And it's also kind of hard to like give good examples of, because they're subtle. They're like subtleties to people. I mean, there are like people that are very extreme in their behavior, but a lot of narcissistic traits are very subtle.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain for me, at least right now, without doing research and getting my thoughts.
Yeah, that kind of
together on it.
self-importance is really important, right? I mean, it could be healthy narcissism and it's necessary for mental well-being, you know, but when it becomes excessive and it results in distress or impairment of personal, social, or like occupational functioning, I think it could be problematic.
So here I'm like on some, I don't even know, on this medical website or whatever, and it's like explaining examples of this at like the workplace or examples in families so like examples at work. And what it says is routinely lying on resumes or in job interviews, seeking admiration by bragging or exaggerating achievements, deliberately taking credit for someone else's work, spreading rumors about someone a person perceives as a rival to get ahead, befriending coworkers to get something such as unpaid help with a project or skill. I mean, there's just like, these are just examples of just very selfish people, but they probably do it not really thinking they're doing anything wrong. I think that's what makes them narcissistic.
Yeah.
And not just lacking morals.
Yeah. It's the reason, and you said a couple of them. The reason I think my own father is a narcissist is because my brothers and I really aren't on the same page and we are untrusting of each other. We don't have the greatest relationship. And I don't talk to one of them, and the other is like, yeah, I talk to him, like I trust him, but it's like, it's kind of awkward. And we were talking about it, and I think it all stems from how he raised us to view the world and each other. And to this day, if someone finds flaw in anything that he says or does, then immediately it's like that person's just a terrible person and will exaggerate. Like right now, I'm the black sheep of the family. Like I'm not well accepted, and it sucks.
Why?
Because there was an incident that happened last year where I went against his wishes. I really don't want to get into exactly what it was, but
keep it generic then.
Like basically we didn't agree on how children were to be raised.
Yeah. And you stood your ground.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I actually stood my ground.
Oh, wow. This definitely didn't happen in our life either. And the people that I had to deal with definitely aren't raging narcissists. You know, narcissistic parents fuck up kids bad. Like bad. Because the kid never understands like what they are doing wrong. And it just creates all this weird doubt and all this I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a therapist, but I know narcissistic parents like extremely fuck up kids.
Yeah. So, and the reason I want to bring it up is because I had a call from my brother, the one I speak to, the other day, and we were talking that
How many brothers you have?
I have 2 other brothers. I'm the oldest.
Oh, you have a sister?
No.
Okay, so 3 bros.
3 bros.
Okay.
It was a family event with his fiance, and my father went, and he was talking to him. He was like, "Hey, so I noticed that their family's really close, and another part of my mother's side of the family is really close. Like all these people are really close. I don't understand why my family isn't really close." And
see,
it stems to he likes to pitch us against each other.
That's a classic narcissistic trait.
Yeah, and we didn't realize that he was doing that until way later in life.
Yeah, so to pause you for a second, I read a lot about this back when we were going through issues with my wife's family. That was 2 years ago. And I told my wife that I was like, well, I mean, I've been reading a lot about narcissistic parents and just kind of how that might affect you. And that was like one of the biggest examples was they pit their kids against each other. Like, well, like, oh, you're not doing things the way that your brother does it.
Right.
Right. Your brother is a perfect person. Why don't you try to be more like your brother? You know, just constantly chasing their approval. And then that switches on you. And then all of a sudden, Angel's the chosen child. And now your other brothers are living in your shadow. And then they're telling them, why can't you be more like Angel? And it messes them up.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's exactly what it is. And I just, and it is what it is. It's whatever, that's how my father has always been. And my mother supports him 100% that way. She may not be aware of it. I don't think she is. Mm-hmm. I think she actually views him as a strong person because what he'll do is if he disagrees with one part of the family, he'll cut them off, period. You're like, I won't talk to them. And then my mom will say, yeah, he's a strong person to be strong enough to cut them off. And I'm like, no, he's being a coward. He's not bringing any like issues up to the front and talking about it. And
dude, are you related to Mel?
I think it's just the culture.
Oh, dude, it's just seriously the same thing. The minute anybody goes against what they say, it's just like instantly you're not welcome.
Yeah.
See you. I am the king of the castle and you obey me at all times.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm fucking 35, dude. Like I can't.
Yeah.
Like I just can't do that.
Yeah. And then I see like a family relationship like Ryan has with his brother and Chris has with his brother. And Stephen, I haven't really seen you interact with your siblings, but
we get along.
It's all really positive and working together, and you guys play around and fool around, and it's something that I admire. I like to see that there's another side to something, Yeah. So
that's the sad part is like, I think a lot of people are like, well, why can't I have, it's just like, you don't get to choose. Well, my dad would always just tell me growing up whenever I'd have those kind of questions, like, why don't we have that? It's like, life's not fair. Like, get over it. The faster you accept it. He would tell me this like every week, life's not fair. Get over it.
Yeah. No, but the whole incident, I am planning on talking on a future segment of what happened. And it happened all last year. I just need to prepare it. But I wanted to set the stage and talk about narcissism and kind of bring it to discussion. And thank you, Stephen, for sharing. It is something that is kind of frustrating because I see like how it affects the kids, and I don't want to do that to my own kids. So just kind of being aware of that.
The first step is being aware.
Yeah.
First step is being aware because these people that are doing it are not aware that they're fucking up their kids.
Yeah.
And you're at least aware of how that could affect your kids. You're like, I'm actively trying not to do that. And if I catch myself doing things a certain way, I'm going to like pull back.
Yeah.
I'm also noticing, I think it's a generational thing too. Like, I don't know if you're like it seems like a lot of the parents that are around my parents' age talk about the way that they disciplined like me, my generation. You know, it was a lot more of, hey, spanking's really popular, spankings with, you know, maybe a wooden spoon or something. It was like, oh, that's the way to solve it, and then probably surprise, you didn't talk about like feelings or anything else. And I think our generation grew up that way, and we're like, hey, we kind of think it would have been, we could have fixed some things if we would have maybe done a little bit differently. So I feel like when I'm raising my kids, there's some things that I'm using, but others that I'm like, nah, I'm going to kind of go in a different direction to try and make this one work. And then I see a lot of other parents that are around my age are kind of seeing that same thing. Like spanking, for example. I've tried spanking a few times, and I have had very little success with it. It's actually, if anything, it made the situation worse, I would say. So, and I've actually had more success, maybe take my kid and moving him to a different room, something to kind of change up the scenery and give him an opportunity to kind of snap out of it and then kind of get on his level and focus on it. So, and I'm thinking it's our generation is trying to do it differently now, and all the parental generations before us are all saying, hey, this is all how we operated and it was fine, you know?
Yeah. Spanking's funny because it's just, do you want your kid to listen to you because they're like fucking scared of you? Or, you know, like, do you want to be looked at as a monster, or do you want to be looked at as like my dad? Oh, I love my dad. He's a cool guy. I don't know. But I feel like you do have to have like a baseline of like, you know, I can fuck you up, right? Like, you know that I'm like capable of laying down the law, but you don't want to have to enforce that all the time.
Yeah.
There's definitely like red light things, right? You know, there's some things where like, hey, my kid is doing this and we got to stop that right now. We got to let them know that's not cool. So, you know, you kind of got to go about that a different way. But I think it was like for myself, it was, like, you know, there was a little bit of fear of dad of, oh yeah, like he could, he could really crack it down at any moment. And you're like, well, you probably don't want it to be that hard. You want, like Stephen, like you were saying, you want you want to be able to enforce the respect if needed to, but you don't want your kids to be absolutely terrified of you either.
Yeah. That like the minute you get angry, it's right to hitting, you know, like I feel like most of the time, like a stern voice and maybe timeout is going to do the trick.
Mm-hmm. I think the trick is you need to find a way to snap the kid back into reality. And I think for us, it was, when you get a spanking, you suddenly realize, hey, something's different. But if you can get that same reaction without a spanking, then I think that's what you want, in the beginning. And again, I was seeing that with moving the kid to a different room, or maybe raising your voice, or taking toys away. Like, you got to do something that's like makes a drastic difference so they can stop for a second and come back to reality so you can start talking to them again.
I think it's like fucked up. Like, the only time I think about spanking is when I'm already seeing red. You know, I'm already like, really ticked off or annoyed. That's the only time, like, and I'm not even in a position to do any sort of reasonable or like responsible discipline. And then when like you're not that angry, but you know they're doing something wrong and they're not listening, you're like, well, I don't really feel like spanking them right now because I'm not really like totally like my mental state is totally calm, but I need to stop this. So I mean, I'm not gonna I can't spank under that. Yeah, I don't know.
Got to do something.
It's just not our parenting style. Like, yeah, we have done a little here and there, and it just doesn't seem to like work like for the same thing you said, and it's just not really our style anyways.
Yeah. Same here.
Physical.
We've tried it too. And it gets immediate results, but it's not like it doesn't stick, you know. It doesn't stick.
I think the bigger point is you know how there's like those 5 love languages, right? So what you want to do is like for your spouse, you want to know what their love language is. So it's like, if you do this, you'll get extra bonus points. Well, to a degree, you want to know what is most important to your kids. So like mine, for example, it's very prominent that toys are drastically important. So I can make all kinds of threats in the world, but the moment I pick up a toy and I say, hey, I'm taking this away, or I'm putting this toy on timeout, it's like, whoa, that was like my most favorite toy ever. Let's calm down, Dad. Let's not get hasty here. Any other things I was doing, it would kind of have mild results. But the moment I start picking up toys, that's when it gets serious. And I figured that out because I identified that from my kid.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really good pattern that you recognize that what is important to them. And that brought to mind something that we did, like I want to say a little bit ago, is we found that she really liked this plush toy, right? And if we took it away, she didn't care. But we had an idea, and we only did it like once, and she listened immediately. But then we discussed it afterwards. It was like, you know what a whipping boy is?
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to use it. It was a little stuffed cat, and we would grab the cat and be like, if you don't listen, we're going to give spankies to the cat. And she was like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this works.
Nice.
If it works, it works.
Yeah. But
You're not hurting them. You're only like making them not want something. Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
Or I had a coworker that he had kids, and he got this thing called a Disney Cube. So it's like you have internet come into your house. Your internet goes to your Wi-Fi router. Your Wi-Fi router plugs into this Disney Cube device. So what it is on the parent's phone, they bring up the Disney Cube app, and they assign internet time and power to all their kids' devices. So let's say all your kids have a Nintendo DS or a cell phone or something. So they can plug in there. They are allowed to have 2 hours or 1 hour of internet time per day. And the moment that internet time runs out, that device stops receiving internet from the router.
Oh.
So, but he would also use it offensively too, where all the kids would be arguing, fighting with each other. Like, hey, what's going on here? Well, this, that, and the other. He's like, okay, hold on. I'm turning everyone's internet off right now. And he pulls out the cell phone, and at that moment, like, whoa, dad, calm down. We can work this out. We can figure it out. So he realized that the internet, which led to the kids' games or the kids socializing, is what was most important to them. And so he held that at any time he needed to. He'd pull it out. He's like, hey, do I need to start going through the internet app? The kids cooperated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's using those alternative methods. That's a really good one. I haven't heard of the Disney Cube. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Chris.
No problem.
For y'all. So this is a story with my daughter and my mother-in-law. It's kind of funny and a little screwed up. My mother-in-law took my oldest daughter to Disneyland, and they were actually a California adventure. It doesn't matter. And she was at the time learning to potty train. So she was telling my mother-in-law, I need to go potty. She's like, okay, let's go. So they went into the stall, sat down, but nothing was going on. At the same time, my mother-in-law needed to use the restroom as well. She sat down, and all of a sudden, my daughter started freaking out because for some reason, who knows? But she started like screaming. I think she wasn't happy that her grandma was like using the restroom, or for whatever reason. There was a woman who was knocking on the door after like a minute or two going on, and she's like, oh my God, she's beating this girl. And my mother-in-law was trying to tell her, like, no, she's just screaming. She's just throwing a tantrum. And I guess at the same time, there was a restroom attendant in there telling her, like, no, lady, like, the kid's just freaking out. Turns out the lady, like, called Disney security over, and Disney security, like, had to sort it out. But, like, the lady was like, yeah, she's, like, totally, like, beating the kid in there, and security was like, no, it was just a kid throwing a tantrum. So, yeah.
What a nosy. I mean, dude, that's the most nosy thing. It's like,
yeah.
And then why do you assume that first? That's messed up. Like, your first assumption is I beat the shit out of my kid, or like your first assumption, you don't even see me doing it. You don't even hear me doing it. You just hear a kid crying, and your first instinct is like that kid's getting beat. Like, tell me what who hurt you? What are your problems?
Yeah, it turns out,
the world hurt me, Steven.
That lady didn't have kids or anything, because my mother-in-law asked, like, do you have any kids? And she's like, no. And it's like, well, that's evident now, because this one here, hi, sweetheart, you need help, but you're supposed to be in bed.
That it's gonna get spankies if you don't go to bed.
Threaten spankings.
Yeah, that's it on my group. Give me a minute. I'm gonna put her back in bed and dress this, whatever it is.
Yeah. Ryan's feverishly typing up his topic over there.
Oh, Ryan's coming in for the kill.
Sounds so tight, like a tight beehole.
tight like a tiger.
Like,
You would know.
I wouldn't.
My butthole's so tight, I have to spread the cheeks in order for farts to actually escape.
That's tight.
So tight.
So how did you...
When we were in Ireland, we went to this monastery. It was very beautiful. We were walking down the serene trail, and this old couple was walking towards us, probably like 65 years old, maybe plus. And as they walked by, the gentleman of the group just let out a fart. Like, and I just busted up laughing. I thought it was the funniest thing.
What else can you do?
And then he goes, "It happens." And I was like, "Eh?"
Sure do.
You know, I was so for some reason I saw this TikTok video that it was a compilation of students trying to hide their fart during class.
Oh, I love those.
So they would like hold their folder and they would like drop it and try and fart at the same time, but the drop would be offset and the fart would be very obvious. Or if you try and like cough ahead of time or something, it was a good laugh.
Those make me laugh.
Farting in school is one of my favorite memories of school in general. It's just farting.
Wait, that you would fart in school?
Oh yeah.
Why? Like, what kind of reaction did you get?
My favorite one was
You know this is gonna be a good one. Ryan's already crying.
it was like sophomore year. And I sat on the other side of the room. For some reason, I was sitting on the opposite side of the room of where I usually do. And I farted, and it was a silent one, and it was super hot. Like, it burned your butt cheeks and whatnot. So I knew it was going to smell really bad.
Oh,
so I farted, and then I went to the other side of the room. And when I got the other side of the room, all of a sudden, everybody started smelling it. But they blamed my friend Mike, who was sitting in front of me, and the entire class, including the teacher, got upset with him.
Nice.
Such a menace. The menace strikes again.
That was just dying.
You're
of
letting your
laughter
boy
in my
Mike
nose.
take the fall, bro?
Oh, yeah, I 100% did.
Fucking
100%.
asshole. He probably
No
looked over
shame.
at you and said, I know you did that, motherfucker. I know you did it. But how guilty do you look if you're like, no, it was Ryan. Ryan did it. And then Ryan's going to be like, oh, I don't know what you're doing. My farts don't
Not my
even
brand.
smell.
My brand.
That's so funny.
When I was in high school, if I made a toasted bologna sandwich, the next day I always had rancid farts.
Jesus.
Bologna, that would do it.
I love how it has to be specified. A toasted bologna.
Couldn't just be
It
a
had to
normal
be
one.
toasted. No, the bread had to be toasted.
Dude,
You're
just
like on
imagine.
you're on your way to pastrami.
Just imagine if your bologna sandwich had toast from another era.
Yeah.
Yeah. Future pastrami.
Pre-colonial bologna sandwich.
All right. Thank you, Angel, for sharing such a serious and annoying topic.
Yeah.
This is a comedy podcast after all, so thank you for bringing us down. Let's go to somebody else and put the picker wheel up for...
The jigger picker.
Yeah, the jigger picker.
Spin your fucking wheel, Angel.
Spinning.
Make it Chris.
Oh, big money no whammies. Make it me, and then I'll go MIA after.
Wow.
Oh, baby.
Ryan called it.
Here we go.
It's Chris.
Chris's 5-minute topic. Let's go.
All right, we got this. What up, Wranglers out there? Your boy Chris here just got back from the Great East. Just got back a few days ago from the great state of Virginia. So I have multiple cousins and uncles back there. And my dad and I flew back there, and we were out there for about a week, and it was fantastic. So I was going to take this opportunity to pick up another segment of Chris Takes a Walk Through the Woods, Part 2. Bum, bum, bum. Boom. So, have you guys ever been to Virginia?
Question.
No, I can't say
When you say
that.
cousins, are they like
me neither.
married to each other? Are they
Yes.
fucking cousins? All right.
Yes. We call them Appalachian cousins. No, they are. So of the state of Virginia, they were in the western half, And the western half is like the ruggedness, mountainous area. The eastern half is kind of down by the coastal area. But a little bit about Virginia. It was one of the original colonies. Its capital is Richmond, which was the capital of the South during the Civil War. Largest city, Virginia Beach. Have you guys ever heard of Virginia Beach?
Yeah,
No.
I have heard of Virginia Beach.
Yeah, it is.
Why are
one
they
of the
called
most,
a Commonwealth?
Why do they call what the Commonwealth?
What is a commonwealth?
Commonwealth of Virginia. What is that?
That is, I was looking at that regarding the distillery, but the Commonwealth of Virginia almost sounds like the business side of the state, because they have a state store that sells alcohol. So it's like Virginia itself is not selling alcohol. The Commonwealth of Virginia, which is almost the business side of Virginia, is selling the alcohol.
Wikipedia says Virginia, officially named Commonwealth of Virginia. It's like the actual name of the state, but they just abbreviate it to Virginia.
That is a fantastic question. I would love to hear more about it, though. I don't know why.
Come on.
Yeah. So, what else we got in here? They have this thing called a fall line. So half of Virginia, you have like where the Appalachian Mountains came up at. You have those rose steeply out of the ground, and they have this solid bedrock line where the rivers have like this 50-foot fall difference. So you have a lot of cities, if you have a ship coming in from the coast, they can only go so far inland until the rivers start being problematic. So it's just kind of like a weird geographical thing out there. Motto. Steven, do you happen to know the Virginia motto?
Yes, I know it. It's right here in my head.
You got it. While you look that up, Stonewall Jackson also, he was a school teacher before his military days out there. He was a school teacher of natural and experimental philosophy. I would love to know what experimental philosophy is. But there was, while I was out there touring, I got to see the area where he was teaching at. And there was actually, during the Civil War, when the Union was coming down and burning everything in sight, Stonewall Jackson collected his students. It was VMI, Virginia Military Institute. He collected his students, his cadets, about 250 of them, and those students went out and partook in the Battle of New Market. So thought that was pretty hardcore. Imagine being like, imagine you're just like, you show up to your math class like, oh, hey, grab your rifles. Let's go do this, guys.
Let's go, boys.
All right. So, Steven, the motto is Virginia is for lovers.
Heard that before.
Yeah. So apparently, and I was trying to look it up. It was used since 1969. Nice.
Wow,
but now it's
been getting better.
Yeah, it's been it's like an intimate thing now, and apparently I honestly have never heard of that before, but multiple people I talked to, they were like, that was something that everybody in the United States knew except for me for some reason. So they said Virginia's for Lovers was acknowledged as one of the top 10 tourism marketing campaigns of all time.
Wow.
So all you had to do is put that out there. Everyone wanted to come visit Virginia for some reason. So you know how I was talking about Virginia Beach? The reason it's popular and or familiar is Virginia Beach is a super popular spring break location. It's kind of like I guess like you have like Myrtle Beach, North Carolina, and Virginia Beach, Virginia. That's like where all the students rush to. They say they receive like 30,000 just students rolling into town. It gets wild. Virginia also had a colony, a settlement of Jamestown. One of their settlers was John Smith. Sound familiar?
I was hoping to say John Cena.
Yeah, it's Pocahontas.
It was John Smith, and he did interact with a tribal chief daughter, Pocahontas. So I guess that's more or less where it came from. So, yeah, but it was a good time. So, in short, Chris, why go to Virginia? So every year, my dad, my uncle, my cousins, we try and do some form of a hunting or fishing trip together. So normally, or actually in this instance, we're planning to go to Colorado to hunt elk. and we did not get drawn. So we said, okay, well, we were already planning on doing something, and what should we go do? So my uncle said, hey, come on out. You can check out. We have deer, we have geese, we have fishing, we have dove, we have squirrel, this, that, and the other, everything. So we headed out there, and it's a pretty cool place. For the most part, every single day we woke up and my uncle had a canoe, my cousin had a raft, and we would just float down one of the rivers fishing. And there's like a lot of like large smallmouth bass out there. We also took the shotguns with us because it was geese season. Right? Have you guys ever interacted with a goose?
Yeah, they're assholes.
Pretty sure I've been chased by a goose.
Yeah. So funny enough, it's not those kind of gooses, the real aggressive ones that are like, for some reason I envisioned them as a kid. They're giant, they chase kids, they're all white, and they're big and scary. These ones are actually Canadian snow geese.
Oh.
So we would get in the canoe and we would just be cruising down the river, fishing, doing whatever, and they would look and we're like, oh, there's some geese right there. So then we would kind of like position our boats and we would roll up on them, and then we would bag them, go pick them out of the river, and go back. And we got we had some pretty good success with that.
Those are beautiful birds, Chris. I'm looking them up right now.
So the funny thing was those things were almost hunted to extinction in like the late 1800s. The whole East Coast has a lot of waterfowl that comes through. But in the late 1800s, there was commercialized hunting, which is businesses hired hunters to go bag as many geese as they could, and then they would take the geese and they would process them and they would sell them. So they stopped that in the early 1900s because the hunters came up with a thing called a punt gun. You guys ever heard of a punt? I think I said that right. Punt gun. Ah, yes.
I think that's Chris Boswell's nickname.
That's pretty close. So it is, let's see here. So for all the viewers out there, you can go ahead and Google this punt, P-U-N-T gun, punt gun. And this is kind of what it looks like. This one right here. There you go. So it is this rifle that is actually it's more of like a extra large shotgun. So this shotgun is what appears to be 10 feet long, and what they would do is they would attach it to a boat, and so you have all these geese out on the water and they're sleeping at night, and you would get a few of these guys and they would paddle up near it. And then they would use the paddles of the boat to kind of position the gun. And then they would fire this giant shotgun blast. And basically what it would do is it would just take all the birds out.
Is there some sort of recoil on that thing? Looks like.
Yeah, well, see,
that's
the thing,
long
though.
and heavy.
No. It had massive recoil on it. But see, that's why they put it on a boat. Because if you put it on your shoulder, like this one over here, if someone like holding it, that was very unrealistic. It was definitely mounted to a boat. So the recoil would go off and that would totally break your shoulder. Now, when you put it in a boat, all the recoil does is push you backwards, right?
Yeah.
Well, they also learned that they had the most success doing this from a canoe instead of a typical boat. If the back of your boat was like a flat 90-degree angle, the force backwards would cause a wave to come over and swamp the boat. But if the back of your boat was more of like a pointy canoe shape, you would just fly backwards and everything would be fine.
Wow.
So yeah, it had I think it had like 5 pounds of shot in it or something. Let's see if I can find one.
Jesus, it's really big.
Yeah. And then I saw
was it necessary?
It was highly effective because and even we noticed this. So we go up to the geese, we see them all out there, and the trick is you want that goose to fly. So I found out, I don't know if you guys know this, but do you know that geese almost have body armor?
No.
So when a goose's wings are down, your shotgun pellets are most likely not going to get through that wing and strike its vitals at all.
Oh.
So you want it to start flying because now the wings are out of the way and you can hit its underbelly. But regardless, our strategy was no matter what, aim for the head because that's going to be your best bet. So when we got a few of these and we were cleaning them later, we noticed that most of the pellets it went into their fat layer, but it didn't actually penetrate their muscles. And we just saw pellet after pellet after pellet all over the place. We're like, wow, it didn't even get there. So Yeah, it would just be like imagine someone shooting you in your tummy and it goes into your fat, but it doesn't get through and hit anything else.
Don't know what you're talking about. Just fucking all rock hard abs, bro.
Yeah. Here you go. So see this red shell right here? This is what a atypical shotgun shell looks like. And then this one next to it, your average shotgun shell is about 2 inches long, and the shotgun shell for the punt gun was 10 inches long.
Wow.
So, Steven, I think you're familiar with what 10 inches is, right?
It's a very accurate picture there, Chris. You know.
Yeah. So it would just go like, it would just fire and it would just hit all the birds in the area, and they would be able to collect a bunch, especially when they're all together. So like when we would canoe up on the birds, we wanted them to fly. So we'd be pointing at them, waiting. Finally, one of them starts to fly. They all start flying at the same time. So they would just all get up and they would take off down the river. I think we had our shotguns are only allowed to hold 3 rounds. So I was barely able to get off 3 rounds before they were out of my preview anyways. So I can see how the punt gun came in handy.
Hell yeah.
Now, the other funny question is when we were cleaning the birds, we're planning on cooking their breast meat later. When we cut that off, it was so chicken is usually like a white meat. Well, geese meat is red, like beef.
Red?
Yeah, completely red.
That's dope.
Yeah. And I was looking at it, I was like, why does this not, it looks different. It doesn't look accurate. So for whatever reason, their meat is red. And when we got off the river, one of the locals was like, "Oh, did you get any geese?" I said, "Yeah, we got a few." And he says, "I got the best recipe for you. You take the meat, you put 50% geese meat, 50% bacon in your grinder, grind it up, make burgers."
Dude, that sounds good.
It does. Looking
Well,
forward
actually,
to it.
I don't know what geese meat tastes like, but if you say it's like red meat, it's like, oh, dude.
The impression I got is the texture, the flavor, the taste is all incredibly similar to beef.
Oh.
So we shall see.
Yeah. Grind it.
It was pretty cool. One thing that did happen while we were hunting for the geese is, so I was in the canoe with my uncle, and we were trying to get to the other side of the river so we could have 2 groups go down at the same time. And we ended up flipping the canoe. Now, fortunately, my uncle, he had been talking about the concept that canoes can be flipped. When we launched, he had everything tied down to the canoe so that if it does flip, your ice chest or your gear doesn't go floating away. He said he has lost 1 shotgun to the bottom of the James River. So over here, we had everything tied down. We were going across. Now, the problem with a canoe is you don't want to be perpendicular to the river. Like if the river's going down, if you're perpendicular and you get hit by the current pushes you into a rock, then that rock upends you and water came over the side. Next thing we know, the whole thing filled with water. So when that happened, I rolled out, and fortunately we were in like a little over waist deep water, and I righted the canoe, but it was like a giant aquarium because the canoe was completely full of water, but all the gear was floating in the canoe, which was still nice. Now, my uncle, on the other hand, he was like, "Oh, Chris, I need you to hold this for me real quick." I was like, "What is that?" He hands me the fishing pole. Well, one of the lures had poked into his hand during the process.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and it was we were fishing for muskies, which is a very large predatory fish. So the lure itself was probably like 8 inches long, and it had some big treble hooks on it. But he was actually very fortunate that he was like, I think it just went straight to the bone. It didn't get deep enough to get for the little hook, the little lip of the hook in there. So, but fortunately, he also carries lidocaine in his tackle box, and my cousin, who is a doctor, was also there with us too. So it was all good. Yeah. So flipped a little bit of that. We did not catch any muskies, but my uncle told me the first time he interacted with a muskie is he was just out there on the river, and there was a duck and then a bunch of baby ducks. And the next thing you know, this fish's mouth came out of the water and grabbed the baby duck and disappeared.
Chris.
Oh, Jesus.
Steven.
Chris, other than being what Ryan's perfect penis smells like. What is a muskie?
What?
So a muskie is this really unique fish. It's actually a fish that not a whole lot is known about it because I think they're fairly rare, and they're not, they don't interact with, we don't get a lot of interaction with them. So basically a muskie it's a predatory fish. Instead of having like razor sharp teeth, it has a bunch of very pointy teeth. So the idea is when it bites you, it just has a bunch of darts that go in and it will hold you steady. Now, what a muskie does, actually, let's flip to what a regular fish does. Like, let's say a bass. So a bass just eats a bunch of little fish throughout the day to sustain its energy. A muskie doesn't do that. A muskie will find like a 2-pound bass and he will attack and eat that, and then he'll spend like 3 to 4 weeks digesting that bass. And he'll just be sitting under a rock doing nothing, literally just digesting and hanging out. So then about a month goes, and what he's doing is he's conserving energy. So he just hangs out, and then when he gets hungry again, he goes and finds another big thing to attack. So when we were fishing, if we were hooking into a bunch of fish, that was like, oh, that's great. But we get to a stretch where we're like, man, this looks like a good spot. The bass should be hitting, and they're not. A muskie must live nearby. So we would have another pole that's already rigged up with the muskie, and we would start throwing after that.
That's funny.
Muskie.
I just like the idea of a fish just hiding.
Yeah.
Like that. It's kind of sad because he took a ducky.
I think if I remember right, my uncle told me the first time that he had caught one. Here we go. This is kind of what a muskie looks like.
Oh, yeah.
It's
like a piranha.
Yeah, and he even had,
or a barracuda.
He had very much so. He had a special set of tweezers where he would say, "You don't want your hands anywhere near its mouth." So we had these giant, extra long tweezers just to deal with this guy. So, but my uncle told me he was in like an inner tube boat, I would say, like a floating boat. And so he'd be floating down the river fishing, and he hooked into a muskie, and so he starts fighting it. And this muskie just took off. So he remembers he was in his inner tube, and he was being pulled by the fish, and he went by some other fishermen on the shore, and he waved at them as he was going down river, which they didn't seem too impressed with. But then when the muskie turned around and started pulling him upriver, and he waved again, then they were generally shocked.
Damn.
So, and he said, this is supposed to be real wild. He says, you'll know when you hook into a muskie because it will come flying out of the water. It'll be flying all over the place. And he says, when you're throwing the lure, he's like, a muskie's all about violence. It wants everything to be very violent. So he's like, when you reel that lure in, you need to be wiggling and pulling and reeling as fast as you can, something to make it look very lively because it wants to go mess something up.
Damn.
So yeah, got wild. I saw some wild turkeys out there. That was kind of cool. So it's really thick with underbrush, but I'm realizing this turkey is like a fantastically built creature because the only part of the turkey I saw was its head. So the turkey would just be walking in the brush, and then he would sit up and poke his head up, and it would be like a periscope, and it would be just high enough to get over the typical brush, and he would look around, and then he'd put his head back down and keep walking. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. He's able to kind of hide most of that. And then one of the great relics that I brought back was some peach brandy.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so I have a cousin out there, and every time we meet, I say, hey man, I'll bring you some tequila if you can hook me up with some moonshine or whiskey or something like that. And he's all, no problem. So this time I went out there and let's see him. I brought him some tequila Casa Azul.
Oh, okay.
I think I did that right. Azul.
Damn, you hooked it up.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. So for them who don't drink a lot of tequila, they were saying, wow, that was really good tequila. I was not expecting it to taste so good, this, that, and the other. I said, oh yeah, man, I'm bringing you the prize jewel of California. Then I was like, when you drink it, you got to hit the little bell on top anyways. So they enjoyed that. And then he usually bring me a few different things. He'll bring me general moonshine, which will just be clear stuff in a mason jar, and that's just raw alcohol. So what you do is you take that and you mix it with like apples and cinnamon, and you can make an apple pie moonshine, which I've done before. So I got one of those, but then he said, "Hey man, here's some peach brandy." And peach brandy is like they take peaches and ferment them and then create brandy from it. And I took a sip of this, and it just tasted like I couldn't taste any alcohol. All it tasted like was I took a big bite of a juicy peach, and it was fantastic.
Ooh. Those are dangerous.
Yeah. So that was really good. So I was able to get that back. That went really well. Virginia life. It was different out there. Have you guys ever been in a situation where, let's take us in California, or even if you go to Vegas, right? We're the ones that don't have an accent, and then someone will fly into Vegas and you'll hear their accent and you're like, "Oh, you must be from out of town," right? You guys ever had an instance like that?
Well, we very much do have an accent, Christopher.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm never that guy, though.
You just don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. So when I flew back to Virginia, I realized I was now the one with the accent. So my cousins...
You're the one without.
Yeah, that might be it. They said...
You don't sound like you're from around here.
They said the most obvious thing is you pronounce words in more detail, or even, like, I don't know if correctly is the right term, but... instead of trying to shortcut a word, you just say the full word like it's supposed to be. They say we talk fast, and we use a lot of words to describe something very simple.
No, that's just you.
That might be it. that very much could be it.
One of the things I can always pick up on is that we have a very strong sound, right? Like, so, like down in the South, they would never say like neighbor.
Yeah.
Maybe like neighbor. Like they just let things fall off, and we're very...
Have you guys ever seen that Saturday Night Live skit, The Californians?
I feel like when you look up California accents, though, like it's always like, yeah, everybody goes, "Gnarly, dude, like fucking go to the store." And
yeah,
my name's like a man. Duh. Yeah, what's up?
we go on the 10 from over here. What are you doing here? Have you ever seen The Californians?
No, but link it. I'll
we
watch
talk
it.
like that. We talk like that. I'll send you a link.
So we sound like Blink-182 is what you're saying?
Yeah, we sound like Tom DeLonge. He's
Tom
the
DeLonge.
California
Oh, God,
accent. Ryan sounds most
Is it
like
just
him.
a California thing? I remember looking up something and they were like talking about how we pronounce our freeways like take the 10, take.
Yes. I've heard that too. Like we say "the" in front of all of our highways and freeways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a California thing or is it just an American thing?
California.
It's a California thing.
That they were not talking about that in Virginia. And also to measure time here in California, we describe distance by how long it takes. Oh, you want to get to Hollywood? Oh, that's going to be about an hour from here. Instead of saying I have no idea how many miles it takes. I just know that's how long it's going to get there. Back there, everything is miles. So it's like, oh, that's like, go about 10 miles up the road. You'll see it on the right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shared in the Discord a link to the Every Californians Ever. It's an SNL skit where they make fun of the California accent.
All right. I saw trains all day. There's so many active trains over there, and actually most of them are carrying coal. And for some reason, I don't know if this is because I'm like a sheltered Californian, but I know that, hey, coal is bad for the environment. And for some reason, I thought coal was abolished or something for some reason. And now I see that coal is very active in that area. I think they still use coal for a lot of power supplies, but they actually said they sell a ton of coal to other countries that don't really care as much. So it was just train car after train car after train car. I mean, I've never seen so much coal in my life.
Yeah, it's the ultra pure stuff.
Yep. I found out there's this area called Appalachia, which is kind of a generic mountainous neighborhood area. So we were in the Appalachian Mountains, and you had a lot of these little towns kind of spread out from each other. But my cousin was saying there's some real deep areas where there's still local schools where there's like 12 students, and the students range from kindergarten to 12th grade. So this one teacher teaches all 12 of these students in a way to handle each one of their levels.
Wow.
And we're getting out there where I think I think power, I mean, I saw power in a lot of areas, but I could tell they had to like work to get the power poles out there. You know, you can, in some of these very deep areas, you just see like some small homes or small trailers or, you know, these different things built out there. And you could tell that, you know, if you really wanted to get far enough away from society, you could in that area.
Yeah.
So, and then last thing was the airport security. So when I was on my way back, I had a little igloo Playmate cooler filled with goose meat that is red, by the way. So when I'm going through and I put all my stuff on the belt. No. I didn't check it. I did this as a carry-on. So I checked the rules, and the rules said I could bring it as carry-on, no big deal. So it goes through security, and I see my backpack comes out, and my my shoes come out, and then I see the lunchbox goes over to the side, and they're like, all right, whose lunchbox is this? Like, oh, that's mine, sir. We need to have a word. And I was like, oh, I can see it now. They're like, you know, you're transporting like man meat or something. Like, you know, I was thinking it could have got real weird. And they're like, all right, sir, you want to describe what this is? I said, oh, it's goose meat. Goose, sir, goose. And I was like, yeah, like, you know, we call a lot of them geese, you know, which I don't know if that was the right sarcastic response or not. But I really thought he was going to take an issue with it. And all he said was, oh, I see here it's frozen. You're good to go. Have a nice day, sir. Just like that. And the other thing I noticed was there was a sign that said, no guns in your carry-on. Okay. Now, for you guys, would you ever consider putting your gun in your carry-on?
Yes.
I always do.
Yeah, right. So there was like, it says a sign said no guns in your carry-on, and then there's another sign, absolutely no guns in your carry-on. A third sign, no guns, ammo, anything in your carry-on. I get up to TSA security, and they're like, sir, are you aware you're not allowed to have any guns in your carry-on? I'm like, yes. I said, okay, I want to make sure you don't have any guns in your carry-on. And the way that they said it about 5 times made me think, is this like a common thing that people are just like, you know, they're probably hunting a lot in the area. So I can see a lot of people being very normalized with that. But, you know, how many instances?
Is it an open carry state?
Yeah. I don't know if it's open carry state or not.
That would explain it, I guess.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it out there. You know, what was really weird is being away from like technology, being away from traffic. I was actually very far removed from my fantasy football team. I had reception kind of off and on, but I wasn't like keeping up with a lot of things on my phone. It was really just sitting in a canoe, sitting in an inner tube, floating down the river, just as fast as the river would take me. Sometimes it was slow, sometimes it was fast, but it was very mellow. And I would say it was really enjoyable. You know, I liked being out there. When I talked to my cousin and my uncle, he said, oh yeah, they used to canoe down and they would camp on the side of the river, and then they would keep going and they would catch fish that night, and that's what they would eat. And it made me realize that they were doing all these they've done all these fun things throughout the years. And I'm trying to think of it of like, man, well, I want to do fun things like this. And the way that I think you get there is you just got to do it. That was the vibe that I got was, you know, if you want to float down the river, go for it. If you want to make a trip to Virginia or some other state that you want to go see, there's no time like the present. Just go out and do it.
Just do it, baby.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time.
Nice.
Didn't hear that one, Steven.
Oh,
You really got to put your butthole up to the microphone if you want it to be quality.
trying.
Yeah.
That is, keep an eye out on those cheap turnaround tickets. Sometimes you get lucky and it's like $150, $200 for a round trip ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, mine was
Nice, easy weekend trip.
I think mine was $400 there and back.
Not terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking like 800, but when I actually hit purchase on the tickets, it was like, oh, 400, that's it. Good to go.
Virginia's like clear across the state or country, right? Pretty
Yeah,
much East
yeah,
Coast.
not that clear. So it was not a straight flight, though. I had to fly into Charlotte, North Carolina, which is the more common hub, and then I had to take the plane from Charlotte to Roanoke was one seat on the left and 2 seats on the right. So it was just a grand total of 3 seats per row.
Ooh, that's a cloud bouncer.
Yeah, man. So, and that flight took all of 30 minutes. And I was like, 30-minute flight? Like, couldn't I just drive? Well, because of the mountains and rivers that are everywhere, that 30-minute flight is also known as a 3-hour drive.
That's pretty good, because flying up to San Francisco and Oakland is a good 6 to 8 hours, but it's only a 45-minute flight.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Let's make it boogie.
All right.
Cool story, Hansel.
What? What's that?
That was from Zoolander. Cool story, Hansel.
You don't know?
Oh,
That's when he was describing. He was like, "Oh yeah, I was rock climbing with Bedouin gnomes in the Andes, and then I realized I've never went rock climbing in my life. I just spent the weekend getting super high with the local neighbors."
I got to watch that movie again.
And he goes, "Cool story, Hansel."
Nice. All right, Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story and your trip. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm sure the CoinOp-ians are going to enjoy it.
Yeehaw!
Are enjoying it right now. Do we talk in the future tense now?
It's always present tense.
Present tense. They are enjoying it.
Yes.
Except for when
enjoy
you
it.
pretend to be in like a week later future. Like,
Yeah.
that was a great week. Great recording last week, guys. That was good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have our regional English major to help us with that. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories. And is there anything else you guys want to say before we say goodnight?
Yeah, I hope Steven has a safe flight.
Thank you.
I want you to watch the finest of cinema on that plane seat.
I'm raw dogging it. Eyes forward, straight ahead.
Not gonna fucking raw dog it.
No headphones, no movies, nothing. Just staring into the seat for 10 hours.
There you go.
Thinking about buttholes.
Thinking about the forbidden butterflies.
Ooh.
Do you ever fart on airplanes?
No. I'm not a menace to society like you.
I have.
I fart on airplanes too.
Yeah.
I feel like
Something about airplanes makes me have to fart.
I feel like Ryan. I feel like Ryan would be the guy to go poop in the airplane bathroom and then leave it there and wait for someone to walk in and giggle when they have to flush twice. Menace.
What the fuck?
Pooping on airplanes is very uncomfortable, and I'm just afraid of the toilets on airplanes.
Wait, why?
They're so aggressive.
What,
Do you know
the
why
flush?
they're so
Because
aggressive?
it makes that suction. It's like
So Ryan, your next airplane. Do you know that you can use the restroom before the plane takes off if you need to? Now, I did that, and I realized the flush is not nearly as frightening before takeoff as in when it's in flight. Do you want to know why there's a difference between those two instances?
because of the pressurization of the cabin.
The pressurization. So when it's on the ground, it's not pressurized at all.
Wait.
But when it's up in the air, that pressure is forcing that flush down.
Just the cabin pressure is causing the flush?
No. It sounds so aggressive because it's like pressure pushing the toilet through.
That's hilarious.
It's also
When it's on the ground, it's like a normal one.
Yeah.
it's mildly terrifying to think that the plane could like hit turbulence as you're pooping in the toilet.
That would be terrible.
God, it's like a...
So, Stephen, while you're flying to Europe, just think deeply in the back of your mind. Get this nice, calm, peaceful state of mind. Maybe a few ohms, and then just think, Virginia is for lovers, and it'll bring you home.
Well, we sure know that after hearing about your cousins.
I felt like a celebrity because when I was back there, I mentioned that I got a podcast, and next thing you know, everyone was like, "Oh, download it, let me check it out. I always want to listen to podcasts." So they're probably going to eventually be listening to this episode, and I hope that I did it justice on how our trip was.
All right. Let us know, Angel.
You're like, you know what? You hang out with a bunch of queers.
Keep an eye on those metrics.
That Steven guy, he's not right. He's not right.
He's got to have that butthole checked out.
Now, does he make you smell his dick, or?
It's like the first time that my wife met Steven. Even before I met my wife at the same party, because Steven and I were at a party and we met her, and she walked up to Steven and said, "Hey, I heard you're a dick." And he goes, "What? I didn't know people would say that about me." She's like, "I think we're going to get along just fine."
Yeah.
That's great. All right, gentlemen. Well, that wraps up this one. Listeners, like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, send us an email. It's in the description, regardless of what you hear.
What's the email address, Angel? Just say it out for the fans.
Email address is insert email address here.
We don't have an email address?
No, we do.
You're a fucking liar.
He
We do.
doesn't
I
have
just
it
said
memorized.
The email address is insert email address here.
What's the email address?
I just said it like twice, Ryan.
What's the email address?
The email address is insert email address here.
Ryan, didn't you hear it? He said the email address is insert email address here.
What if that was actually our email at gmail.com?
No, it has to be
Exactly.
AOL.com.
AOL.com.
Let's see if we can get an AOL.
Yeah.
Which we have already. Obviously, it is insert email address here. Okay, guys.
Good night.
Bye.